Thank you as always, Rachel. Great stuff and a great initiative that you can read about online at theweathernetwork.com. Let's take you to our must-see video, though. Thankfully, we haven't really seen so much in the way of big-time snow, not like Atlantic Canada. We've had a little bit. Let's turn it over to Kevin Yard. He's been scoping out Barrie to see if he can find some snow. I love positive-minded people. You know me, right? But we have some snowfall possible. Again, this is really light in nature, but it's possible that maybe north of Barrie, 2 to 5 centimeters would probably be about as much as we could get from the current pattern that we're in. But the pattern is changing. By about the middle of the week, then we're going to start to see that warm air. We're starting to tap into it at least, and that's making way for rainfall. There will be likely some severe weather in the U.S. while this is all happening, but for us, it starts off as rain on Wednesday and some icing because we're really kind of getting out of the cooler and heading into the warmer. Thursday, it's rain, now 25, 35 millimeters of rain, unsettled. You're watching the Weather Network, Canada's #1 source for accurate weather forecasts. Expect that for the next 4 days, the temperatures are going to remain below seasonal, but there is some light at the end of the tunnel. I'll tell you all about that in just a moment. First, though, our must-see video. You can read all about the lunar eclipse and the blood moon online at theweathernetwork.com. But let's turn it over to Kevin because he's been looking for some weather, and we have the potential for a little bit more snow. Let's go up to Barrie right now. Thank you very much, Kevin. Let's get into our forecast conditions for all those active people out there who want to take advantage. Well, you know, at this point, we would need to see temperatures a lot colder than they are in order for us to really get some big-time snow coming our direction. So less than 2 centimeters of snow north of Toronto, but there's this bullet up toward Bancroft and maybe Parry Sound. 2 to 5 centimeters would be about as much as we could get. The ground's pretty warm at this point, despite these spells of cooler air. The ground absorbs the heat and keeps it. But we have this boundary, and you can see it's draped right across us. So cold to the north of that, warmer, relatively speaking, to the south. It's still going to be cold enough to see possibly some snowfall, but it's more so down into the southwest of the province that sees some active weather with that boundary. Now looking ahead to Wednesday, low pressure system moves away from us, and this one here brings us some milder air, yes. It also brings us some rainfall. This is a day, actually not so Friday, but Thursday, that there may be some severe weather in the U.S. that will... Thank you so much for that, Rachel. A great initiative, and you can read the full details online, of course. And let's turn it over to our must-see video. Having an impromptu snowball fight seems to be the right thing to do at the time. We have had some rain in Northern California, which is really great news. The storm track taking some much-needed moisture into California. We, on the other hand, are cold enough to support some snowfall, but we're not expecting a lot of accumulation. Through Ottawa and even up north of Toronto here would be less than 2 centimeters of snow, and we've got this boundary that's draped across. To the south of that, it's warmer than to the north, but again, we're talking about really a cool spell that we're in right now the next couple of days, and then we'll start to tap into some Gulf moisture and warmth. That will also result in, on Thursday, the potential for severe weather in the U.S. We'll have to watch for that. See the temperatures, though, slowly inching up. Friday, 15 degrees, followed by 11 degrees on Saturday with still some cloud cover, and then brighter skies to come through, likely by Sunday. I'm Sheryl Plouffe. Glad you're here for an update on your weather. You've seen your local forecast, but why is it all happening? Well, we have a pattern right now where we're still stuck in some cool air, but we're not alone in that. We've had some snowfall in eastern Canada as well. So I want to show you what it looks like. You to see some mixing. It's not going to be like that, but some mixing through the overnight and possibly tomorrow morning. Then we'll start to break out of it. Let's turn it over to Kevin Yard up in Barrie and check in on the conditions outside. Thanks very much, Kevin. We have some snowfall on the way, although it's north of Toronto that we have the better chance of picking up any accumulation. At that would be less than 2 centimeters, but up toward Bancroft and Parry Sound, maybe going as high as 2 to 5. Here's the thing. We have some changes underway with the jet stream pattern. So look at this big ridge that's building in across the west. That is gradually pushing. It's also drawing up some warmer air for us later this week. So we have rain on the way. We have a little bit of snow still on the ground. Maybe in your neighborhood you've noticed still a little bit of snow on your grassy surfaces, on your front yard, that sort of thing. Well, the rain coming in is going to melt most of that. Possibly some icing because Wednesday's the day that we transition to what is more mild. It's still unsettled, and this is the day for rain. 25 to 35 millimeters of rain. Still windy, although very mild on Friday. In fact, this is the time frame where we're talking about the mid-teens returning. So there's that dome that starts to push into the Great Lakes, and we still have some cool conditions this weekend across eastern Canada. Saturday's weather highlight. Thank you so much for that, Emily. Let's get into your forecast conditions. I'm Sheryl Plouffe. Glad you're here for what's happening because we have a lot of rainfall on the way. This is a must-see video, though, and you can read all about the blood moon and the lunar eclipse online at theweathernetwork.com. But we have had actually some of the best viewing conditions we've had in BC, actually. But when we look at Rice Lake and Toronto, we have some mixing potential through today and tomorrow morning. And then we'll start to break out of this cooler than average pattern that we've been stuck in for the last while. We have this boundary that's just draping right across us. To the north, it's colder than to the south of the boundary, but overall, this air mass pattern is not terribly warm just yet. But we will start to change things up by Wednesday and especially Thursday and Friday. You can see those greens are starting to come in. That's indicative of the more moderate and heavy rain, or at least higher totals of rain, 25 to 35 millimeters expected right here. And that's going to melt any remaining snow on the ground. In fact, those temperatures on 15 degrees on Friday will also help the cause.